and they don't have a lot of support. So they come out to this to feel that support. You don't know who they are. A couple will come up to me and say, Betsy, this relay means a lot to me. And it does. And so if there is someone that you see maybe walking alone, doing a lap, let them know if there's something you can do for them. Because having a family who helps and a strong support system gets people through some of this stuff. Jenny Steffes is somebody who I met tonight face to face. But earlier in the earlier program, I had mentioned that we have been friends on Facebook for a very long time. And I like a lot of things that she says. We have a lot in common. But tonight was the first night that I met her, and I didn't know that she had had cancer, diagnosed in April. Jenny is our honorary caregiver, and she is going to share her story tonight. So please welcome Jenny Steffes.
Thank you so much. Oh, I don't know if I can top that speech we just heard. That was pretty incredible and inspiring. I'm gonna try really hard to make it through without tears. Tonight is very surreal for me. I've spoke once before about my journey, and I've never been to a Relay for Life. I've never been impacted by cancer in a huge way. And so this is all very, very new for me, and it's very, very new for my family. This is incredible, you guys. What you're pulling off tonight is amazing. So kudos to everybody that had any part in tonight, because it is huge for those of us that are in this fight right now. A little bit about my story. April 6th of this year, I was still just a healthy, normal mom of four, go-getter. I had just done a CrossFit workout the week before. I belonged to a CrossFit gym, and life was going really, really well. There wasn't too much I could complain about. April 7th, that all took a huge plot twist, is what I like to call it. I woke up and wasn't feeling well, and I started having full-out seizures at home that were knocking me completely unconscious. I was home alone. So after the second one, I realized something's wrong, something's going on. My husband and kids were on their way home from Wisconsin from visiting family. So I reached out to my friend Ashley and said, I think I've had some seizures. Something's really wrong. And she lives in Casson and darted her way up to grab me and get me to the emergency room. I had another seizure right there in front of her in the emergency room. And kudos to Mayo Clinic also. They are incredible. We are so blessed to have them in our backyard. They knew right away something's wrong. We've got to figure out what's going on. Due to those seizures and due to the inflammation and the trauma to the brain, I also don't remember a lot of that initial diagnosis except for what they tell me. My husband took the blunt. So married to the man of my dreams. We have 4 children together, and he's the one that took the news. We found a mass on your wife's brain. There is no way to even begin to process that or even understand what that means in the very beginning. I spent 2 nights in the hospital, many tests. Wednesday of that week, we met with the surgeons, and I was naive enough to think, okay, the surgeons are gonna say, okay, we're gonna go in, do surgery, take this mass out, and you'll go on with life. So we met with the surgeon, and she said, this is an inoperable brain tumor. It is sitting on your motor strip on the left part of your frontal lobe. My 2 fingers on my right hand had gone numb months ago, and I bought better pillows. And I went to the chiropractor because I thought, I'm getting older, it's a pinched nerve or something. But actually it was the tumor starting to put pressure on the right side, and I was starting to exhibit some symptoms, which is why I had the seizures and all of that started on the right side. So now we know surgery is not an option, but they wanted biopsies. We had to figure out what we were dealing with here. There's many types of brain tumors, but brain tumors are very rare, less than 2% of all cancers. which is odd because now as a brain tumor patient, I know a lot of people with brain tumors. So on Friday of that week, just 5 days after we found out I had this, I went in for brain surgery and they took 6 biopsies of the tumor. I stayed in the hospital for 2 nights, I believe, and then was sent home. And they said, we'll get a hold of you when we have results. For 13 days, the longest, scariest, toughest 13 days of my life, we just waited. We didn't know anything. We didn't know prognosis. We didn't know grade, which is how they, tell you where things are at with the tumor, how fast it's growing. We didn't know anything. And so Wednesday, April 25th, we met with oncology and found out that I have a grade 2 oligodendroglioma, which is a brain tumor, but it doesn't have the extensions. It's not growing into my brain yet. So it was actually good news, believe it or not. And treatment plan would be radiation. So then we had to talk about traditional radiation versus proton radiation. We went with proton, followed by a short break, followed by chemotherapy, which is a really scary word. And then getting you to a place where you're stable. Brain tumors are not treatable or curable, I should say. They're treatable. They're not curable. We don't use the word remission. You are never cured. You are stable, and you want to just remain stable. So I will never be cancer-free, but I will be someday stable, and that can be forever, okay? That's what we're gonna say. So we went through proton radiation, which was an experience all in itself. They make a mask and they literally strap you down to a bed. Your eyes are not able to open. They cut out a little hole for your nose. And for 30 days, 5 days a week for 6 weeks, I underwent radiation to my brain. I actually kind of soared through it pretty easily. It went pretty well. It wasn't until the end that I started to experience some of the side effects that they talk about. However, they said, you will lose a little bit of your hair. And I thought, what's a little bit of hair? They already shaved a little bit when I had brain surgery, so who cares if that falls back out? I have a lot of hair. I had long, thick hair. I just cover it up. They were wrong. I lost a lot of hair. The entire left side up and around and over is bald. So I have hair in the front and hair in the back and on the sides around my ears, and that is it. So that was tough. That was much tougher than I ever thought it would be. But hair comes back, and we pray that brain tumors don't as well. So we wrapped up with radiation. We went on a family vacation. We got back. Last Monday, we went in for a scan, and last Tuesday, we met with the brain tumor specialist, another new doctor, to start chemo. And so we went in there only anticipating, here's the chemo plan, here's the chemo we're gonna use, we're gonna start you on Monday. That was our anticipation. My fear was that I was speaking tonight, and what if I was already throwing up from the first few treatments, but I thought, we'll deal with that when we get there. We walked in last Tuesday, sat down, again, not nervous because I knew to expect nothing. In fact, I knew to expect that the scan would look worse because of inflammation from radiation. And the doctor sat down and said, I always have a speech prepared. We are always ready to explain to you why your brain tumor, or why your scan and the tumor look worse, even though the tumor's not growing, and it probably is shrinking. We can't see it because there's so much inflammation. Our doctor threw his speech away and said, we already see progress in your scan. Immediately, thank you, not at all expected, you guys, we were blindsided by good news. So there was a lot of crying, and then he said, and I'm not quite ready to start chemo yet. We want to give a little more time. So we need to discuss when the right time is. And I said, well, we're going on another vacation. It's our last vacation of the year. We go every year with 3 other families. And he said, go on vacation. We'll talk when you get back. So I will start chemo Monday, August 12th. I'll do 6 rounds of chemo. And his words to me were this: if you're worried about being at the 4 weddings of your children, I will confidently tell you, you will attend their weddings. Huge turning point because I was super confident after that. So I loaded up my kids and took them to South Dakota all by myself. And I got sick and spent a day puking in the hospital room. But it was just this confidence that life and normalcy would return. So that is my story to date. But what I want to talk to you tonight, and I'll try to keep it super short and quick because I could talk for hours, is when we first found out that we were diagnosed, we always knew we had good friends, we knew we had a good tribe, but I tell you what, when the community rallied and when our friends and neighbors and family and people we didn't know started showing up at our doorstep each and every day for 3.5 weeks with a meal every day, the gifts started rolling in, the GoFundMe was rolling over daily, the people that showed up on Facebook, sent text messages, made phone calls, people I haven't talked to for years. It was unbelievable and overwhelming in such crazy, awesome ways that I knew from the beginning this was going to be okay. They have our backs. And never once have I shared, when I share my story, I've never said, I'm going to go through this or then I'm going to do this treatment. It's always we, because I have such a tribe and such a community. And Betsy talked about that. That's so important and that really makes or breaks somebody's journey. And so if you know somebody going through, and it doesn't have to be cancer, it can be anything, any diagnosis, a tough divorce, any life-changing, altering thing, people matter and people are what bring people to the other side of tough journeys. And it's so important that we show up for people each and every day. Amen. I'm totally off track. So because of that, because of our community and our tribe and our friends and our family and these people that we didn't know showing up, I totally and 100% spent 2 months focusing on, 1, my family. I mean, I still had to be a wife and a mom, but 2, on resting and healing. And I attribute so much of the success on this scan we just received, first of all, to Mayo Clinic, second of all, to our tribe, to everybody showing up, lifting the burdens off of us, helping us carry it, and helping take care of us to the point where we really just focused on each other and on me getting better. And that is, again, all the difference, you guys. It makes or breaks it for somebody. Nothing can ever prepare a family for a traumatic news, a diagnosis such as cancer. But love, support, and community will always lessen the blow. I have never asked, why me? Betsy asked me today. I have said, why not me? Why not me? Because I'm no different than anybody else. People lose their children to car accidents. People lose their spouses. Terrible things happen each and every day. Why not me? Why not any of us? But today when you asked me that, it did throw me off because she said, have you ever said why me? And I thought, no, I never have. And she said, why? I was like, oh shoot, this is going on the news. Why have I never asked why me? And hearing the story before this really hit home why. Because it was me. I'm 39 years old. It wasn't my children. It wasn't my littles. I can do this. I'm strong enough. I'll get through. It wasn't one of my babies. And so I've always been grateful for that. I have prayed a lot. I have always prayed. I've always had a huge faith in God. But God and I were pretty tight these days. During those 13 days between surgery and my diagnosis, when we knew nothing, I was full of fear. I prayed the same prayer over and over and over. God, I promise I will walk this path. I will fight this fight with grace and gratitude. Just give it a purpose. Now I recognize that God has a plan and he's not going to change it because I say a prayer. There's a plan in this already that he's already laid out for me. But I wanted there to be a purpose and something for me to do with this. I don't want to just fight a brain tumor, get to the end, and then life goes back to normal and we go back to doing what we've always done. I want to do something with this. I want to help others because of it. And so we don't have a diagnosis, we don't have a prognosis, I don't have a start date, I assume we're gonna rush right into treatments. And I get a message from Tanya, she's with the St. John's team. I don't know Tanya other than she showed up on my doorstep to deliver a meal. And I was rattling my brain. How do I know her? How do I know her? How do I know her? I can blame the brain tumor, I can blame it, that I don't remember her and I apologize, memory's bad. I truly had never met her, but she knew a mutual friend, reached out and brought a meal to us. She reached out and said, Jenny, we have a couple events coming up. Would you be open to speaking? And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little irritated, like, I just found out. I don't even know what the plan is. I can't be up on stage when I'm sick as a dog and chemo, all we ever think about with chemo is terrible things. And so I said, can I have some time to think about this? Yeah, I just don't know a thing right now. And she said, absolutely, take your time. And if you're not open to it, that's okay. And about 24 hours later, I remember exactly where I was. I remember what I was wearing. I remember where my phone was sitting charging. And a light bulb came on. And I thought, okay, Jenny, you can't pray for these things. And then when something gets asked of you, say, I don't know if I can do that. I'm not going to commit to that. Don't pray for it and then not open the door. So I wrote back to Tanya immediately and said, I don't know where I'll be on that June date. I don't know where I'll be on that August 2nd date, but I will be there and I will speak and I will do everything in my power to make it for, 10 minutes. Hopefully this isn't too long for you, but I'll do everything in my power to share my story. And I believe with all my heart that this is just the beginning because we have so many lives that we want to touch because of this, because cancer affects so many. Okay, now I have to catch up. I get off track. This is why I have notes. Anyway, I have 2 pieces of advice or favors for you. One is, I don't believe in coincidence. I used to know it was more than just a coincidence, but I never knew what it was. And just recently I heard this quote. It's from Brene Brown in a book, who's one of my favorites, by the way. Pick up some Brene Brown, she will help you, in Rising Strong. Some call it random coincidence. I file it under a God thing. Or as novelist Paulo Coelho talks about in one of his books, when you're on your path, the universe will conspire to help you. It's no coincidence that I'm here today. And it's no coincidence when you're driving down the road or you're in the middle of gardening or in the middle of anything that you're doing when somebody randomly out of the blue crosses your mind. And my favor for you tonight is any time after tonight when somebody crosses your mind, file it under a God thing and reach out to them. Even if it's a quick message to say, you've crossed my mind today, I'm thinking about you, I hope you have a great day. Because for some reason, that person needs to hear from you, and that's why they've crossed your mind. I could give you a ton of advice, like I said, but show up for people and continue to show up for people because people need people. We often focus on the patient, the cancer patient, but today, please take a minute and let's put our hands together for the spouses, the family, the children, the parents, the siblings, the medical providers, the Relay for Life people that put everything into it, the supporters and the caregivers of cancer patients. Nothing is ever promised. It might not be a brain tumor that seals my fate. It might be a bad car accident. We are never promised tomorrow. We never know when life will deliver a forever life-changing blow. So, okay, a little more advice. Live your life every day. Be happy. Soak in the joy. Look for the little miracles because they're there every single day. Love people. Let go of hurt and live your life to its fullest each and every day like it's your last. All my love. Thank you.
Pastor Heidi Heingartner is going to come and lead us in prayer, and then